Also Finance Bill 2022, despite some anomalies, which I would like to bring it to the notice of the Honorable Finance Minister through you, sir. Sir, the first point is tax exemption limit. Sir, between 2014 and 2022, the cumulative inflation has increased by 48%, whereas the tax exemption limit has remained the same at 2,50,000 rupees since BJP government has come to power. Sir, I bring it to the notice of the Honorable Finance Minister that there has to be a parity between the taxation and inflation and maintain the minimum exemption limit. Sir, the parity between the taxation and inflation is needed because of the falling income, raising inflation, and stagnant tax relief. The common man cannot survive. This has to be realized by the Honorable Finance Minister. The second issue, declining the savings on taxpayers. Sir, Finance Minister Madam, 2018 and 19, the Employees Provident Fund interest rates since then have been falling, and 18-19, it is 8.65%, and as of today, 21 and 22, it has come down to 8.1%. The current rate of 8.1% is lowest the interest rate which is being paid to the Provident Fund subscribers in the last 44 years. This will have a definitely negative impact on the savings of the 5 crore Indian population. Sir, the National Pension Scheme is the only pension scheme, saving scheme, where tax is levied on maturity, on payment of maturity, which is really deplorable, and I request the Honorable Finance Minister to look into it and exempt the payment that is received by the subscriber on maturity, sir. No tax reforms has been made to make NPS, National Pension Scheme, lucrative for the taxpayers by the NDA regime, sir. Sir, COVID treatment. The expenditure that is reimbursed for COVID treatment of the family head or the family members is deductible, and it is a welcome move by the government, sir. However, the point what we have to realize now is why this? Because the reimbursement occurs when there is no insurance coverage. So there is a need to encourage the health insurance, which can be made affordable to masses, and it can be made affordable by the masses only if GST at the rate of 18% is reduced to nil. I request the Honorable Finance Minister. Honorable Finance Minister may say that it is not in our hands. It is in the hands of the state and GST Council. But that is not the reply, sir, what we expect from the Honorable Finance Minister. Though the authority lies with the GST Council, it is the BJP government which is responsible for that, and it can take up the issue because there are so many states where the BJP is in power, and they can take up the issue in the GST Council and reduce the GST on insurance from 18% to nil. Sir, the next issue is disinvestment of PSUs and public sector banks. And Honorable Finance Minister, Madam, by amending the provisions of carry forward losses, you have made the setting off of losses, sir. Under section 79, you are enabling the disinvestment more easier. Sir, the disinvestment of where some of the PSUs are being sold by part, and some of the PSUs are being sold in one go, altogether to a private parties. Sir, disinvestment process of 18 PSUs out of 36 PSUs is complete in some respect or other. The sale of PSBs or GIC, IDBI is already privatized 2 of the PSBs, sir, and 1 general insurance company also is being privatized. Sir, today and tomorrow, All India Bandh is called for only for against the privatization. So we, the state government of Andhra Pradesh, is supporting the Bandh and opposing the privatization of public sector undertakings, sir. Sir, the public, what is expected of the PSUs by the general public at large? General public of this country at large expect the PSUs would contribute to the develop the critical infrastructure and provide affordable goods and services. And third, generate lakhs of employment, jobs, creation of jobs. Sir, it is these PSUs, and I refer to the Visakhapatnam steel plant, during the pandemic has helped the public at large and which is being privatized now. And who will take care of the public if you start privatizing all the public sector undertakings which are generating profit or likely to generate the profits? Sir, Vizag, coming to Vizag steel plant. Andhra Pradesh is the biggest victim of central government decision to privatize PSU, sir. And the state government has been agitating against the privatization of RINL for the last 1.5 years. Nothing. And BJP is, the ruling dispensation is not able to hear anything sitting in Delhi. What the people of the state who are crying there in Visakhapatnam. Sir, central government wants to privatize VSP, that is Visakhapatnam steel plant, for the simple reason that it is incurring losses. In reality, it is not incurring losses, sir. I request the Honorable Finance Minister, Madam, to go into the records, and for the current year, it is 1,000 crore profits. And sir, what has been invested by central government? The central government initially has invested about 5,000 crores in Visakhapatnam steel plant. Against investment of 5,000 crores for the last decades, how much it has got back? It has got back by way of dividends about 51,000 crores when it was earning profits. Just because in the recent past, it has incurred the losses, and the decision to privatize Visakhapatnam steel plant is really deplorable against the interest of the public, sir. And I request the Honorable Finance Minister, Madam, to scrupulously follow 3 Rs, that is restructure, revamp, and revive the public sector undertakings rather than privatizing them, sir. Sir, why? Why Visakhapatnam steel plant is right now is incurring losses? Not right now, in the past. Because central government has not allotted the mines to that, captive mines. And secondly, central government has refused to restructure the debt and waive the interest. It is because of these 2 reasons that it has incurred losses for a period of 5 years or so, sir. Sir, GST compensation. Sir, I heard the reply of Honorable Finance Minister when Finance Minister has responded to the question in the question hour, and it gave an impression that Madam has extended the GST compensation to states for a period of 5 years. I have repeatedly seen the video and tried to understand what Madam has said. Madam has said that the surcharge, what is levied, would be extended for another period of 5 years for the central government to repay the loans that it has paid to the compensation that has been paid to the states. In fact, Finance Minister Madam has not extended the compensation period to the state, payable to the states. I request the Honorable Finance Minister Madam to kindly reconsider and extend the period of compensation payable to the states for another period of 5 years. Sir, 2 more points, 3 more points. Cryptocurrency. Sir, this is very important, sir. Cryptocurrency. Another 2 minutes are there. Cryptocurrency. For the last 4 decades or 5 decades, Congress has ruled the country, and now BJP is ruling the country. I bring it to the notice of the Honorable Finance Minister that there is a possibility of misusing the cryptocurrency, and I humbly request the Finance Minister, Madam, to address the issue, sir. And sir, any transaction that is not routed through the exchange, there are about 150, less than 150 exchanges in the world, sir, cryptocurrencies exchanges. Any transaction that is not routed through the exchange, and the transaction that takes place between the 2 individuals, myself and my friend Ramesh ji, how the government will come to know? See, according to me, there is a possibility of Congress or BJP opening 90 crore account and transfer the funds through DBT, sir. direct benefit transfer scheme to buy the voters, to lure the voters. So this has to be addressed, sir. And finally, sir, very important amendment to the Finance Act. Madam has proposed and amended Section 147 of the Income Tax Act, which Congress party has misused for 4 decades, sir. Sir, assessing officer, there the words that have been omitted from the section is, according to 147, an assessing officer who has a reason to believe that the income has escaped assessment, he can reopen the assessment. Now, that reason to believe has been omitted and dropped by the Honorable Finance Minister, Madam, last year. Now, assessing officer has got an unfettered freedom. Whether he has a reason to believe or not, he can reopen the assessment. Now, we are the political parties and regional political parties on which the ruling dispensation can take the vengeance. And earlier they have taken the vengeance and they have foisted, so Congress party has foisted so many false cases. So I request the Honorable Finance Minister, Madam, to kindly look into 147 and then restore the amendments that have been made in the last year, sir. And last point, sir, Section 10, subsection 23C. The charitable institutions, they're all charitable institutions. They are not discretionary trust. Charitable institutions which are covered and comply with the conditions of Section 10, subsection 23C have been, and the conditions have been made more stringent and imposed, and stringent conditions are imposed at par with those of the trust covered under Section 11 and 12. By doing so, we are not doing justice to the charitable institutions, sir. I request the Honorable Madam, Finance Minister, Madam, the government can very well delete Section 10, subsection 23C and make all the trust claim benefits under Section 11 to Section 13 of the Income Tax Act. Such a step will simply simplify the law, and there will not be any separate category of special status of the trust claiming exemption under Section 1023C, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dr. V. Shivadathan.
Respected Chair of the Honorable August House, here our Honorable Member Vijayasai Reddy referred the struggle of workers, and also he supported the struggle. Today, while we are sitting in the house, while our workers of the country is on the street, their demands is directly linked with the policy of the government. Sir, they are demanding for a better life for the people of our nation. They are demanding better education. They are demanding better food, better clothing for everybody in our nation. One of the great poets, Pablo Neruda, told us that he was asked, why you are not speaking on the beauty of the native country? Why you are not speaking on the big mountain of his native land? Why you are not speaking the sweet sound of the river? Then he answered in his poem that, come and see the blood in the street. Come and see the blood in the street. Sir, I think this is the very important point what Neruda told us. So here, I try to recite 2 lines. जब गुलिस्ता को लहू की जरूरत पड़ी, सबसे पहले हमारी ही गर्दन कड़ी, फिर भी कहते हैं हमसे ये अहले चमन, ये चमन है हमारा तुम्हारा नहीं. When the garden needed blood, you have cut our necks. Even though you are telling us the garden is yours, not ours. Sir, I am telling, sorry, this is not work in our nation. Our nation, our great nation, India. India is built by the sweat and blood of the workers in our country. India, the great nation, built by the sacrifice of the peasants. India, the great nation, built by the martyrdom of youths. So this country, the workers will fight against the policies of the government. So the fighting spirit of workers you will see in the street. So the government the union government is trying to help the corporate houses, big corporate houses, and they are trying to help them to exploit the people in various ways. We are seeing these all things in different ways. The food, employment, health, and food and education and other facilities are very important for the development of the society. But existing government is not ready to invest proper amount for the development of the society, for the development of the marginalized communities. They are not ready to help, try to eradicate malnutrition, poverty, these kind of illness. They are neglecting education and health facilities for the nation. The finance minister, respected minister, says there is a record GST collection, but the marginalized communities are not getting proper share for them. So, sir, the budgetary allocation, the figures are clearly shown that the common people will be charged and richest will be benefited. This is the existing condition. Sir, again, I am telling, there was a lot of incidents which prove the anti-people approach of the government. One of these, sir, related to the midday meal system. 1,500 crore rupees has been reduced in this year present budget. So it will affect the students, especially those who are from the marginalized section. Sir, currently in India, young children are facing lot of crises. They are facing different problems. We see child mortality, maternal mortality, stunted growth, wasting, and anemia. So the number of anemic children in India is the largest in the world. So now the world is discussing the situation in Sri Lanka. There, the common people is in the long queue for getting a piece of bread and water. Sir, I'm adding something related to this, sir. But in India, the anemic children is 94 million. Sir, 94 million. It means this 94 million means this is 4 times of entire population of Sri Lanka. That means 4 crying Sri Lankas are here. Here in India, starving Sri Lanka, 4 starving Sri Lanka is here, sir. So again, another thing is, sir, now we are discussing the Ukraine issues. There, the bleeding war field of Ukraine. Sir, the number of the anemic children in India is the more than the 2 times of Ukraine, entire population of Ukraine. So this also we will be discussed here, sir. Sir, UNICEF report says that the major portion of the death of children under 5 is related to malnutrition. Every day in India, more than 4,500 children die. In a single minute, we are losing 3 children. Sir, in Global Hunger Index 2021, the position of India 101 out of 116 countries. Sir, Global Hunger Index has been prepared on the basis of the performance in undernourishment, child wasting, child stunting, and child mortality. The report of National Family Health Service, NFHS 5, has shown the status of India. In these areas, in India, we will see these all cases A huge urban-rural divide also we are seeing. The extreme divide between urban and rural areas is pointed in the report. Sir, in neonatal mortality rate, the child death before the first 28 days of the birth, urban is 18, rural is 28, average, national average is 25. Infant mortality rate, sir, urban is 27, rural is 38, average 35. Under 5 mortality rate, urban 32, rural 46, average is 41. Child stunting, urban is 30, rural is 35, national average is 41. So child wasting, urban 35, rural 37, average, national average is 35. Sir, 2 points, sir. Underweight is urban 27, rural 33, national average is 32. Sir, these all things I am quoting from the report of the government report. In this capital city, sir, Delhi, 3 girls aged between 2 and 11 starved to death, sir. Doctors in the hospital, after the postmortem report, they said, sir, they had not eaten a single piece of bread in the previous 7 days. In previous 7 days, sir, they couldn't take a single piece of bread. The majority of the workers in India are getting very meager amount as their wage. Sir, the minimum wage of employees in various parts, their minimum wage is below than the price of the 2-liter petrol, sir. And there is a huge decrease in the real wages of the workers. The existing wages to the workers is not sufficient for to buy even a liter cooking oil. So even a cooking oil, they're unable to buy with their wages, sir. Sir, the workers have their own dreams. They have dreams for better education. They have dreams for better food, for clothing, and these all things, sir. Everybody have their own dreams, but they are unable to fulfill their dreams with this wage. The workers of the world unite is the word is in our heart, sir. And Max, in his great work, you told you have nothing to lose. Also, we are keeping in mind. So, sir, I am repeatedly telling to you, ek बाग नहीं मनोजा एक बाग नहीं एक गेत नहीं हम सारी दुनिया मांगेंगे. So sir, here sir, our constitution, preamble of the constitution says, we the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. So sir, these words I am concluding. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sivdasan. The next speaker is Dr. M. Thambudurai.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The fourth union budget presented by the Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, on 1st February 2022 was like a booster dose for the economy in the endemic, post-endemic era, wherein the government has chosen to lead the path by heavily increasing the capital expenditure to create a cycle of high growth, employment generation, spur in the consumption, which in turn is like to bring buoyancy in revenues rather than going for the fiscal squeeze, which is required to take India to the next level. Sir, I want to make one thing very clear. Some of our opposition members accused the Prime Minister has not taken keen on the poor and others. There is no development like that. I want to say, sir, the budget seeks to lay the foundation for achieving the vision of the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi ji. For example, if you take agriculture, agriculture is giving more importance during Modi's period. He allocated a lot of money, and also the agriculture workers, the rural area, is getting a lot of incentives, and they have given the money for them, putting in their accounts to give purchasing power and the employment opportunity. And also, you know very well, when we are facing this pandemic situation, how the Prime Minister acted to see that to boost get the more vaccination for that, for encourage our Indian manufacturers to that, laboratories. He visited physically, taking the risk of his life. He visited most of the labs and to see whether it's going on or for the country. That way, he is such kind of a man. He has taken so much stress for the poor people and for development of this country, and also the vaccines which produced also exported to other countries also. That way, he is concerned for other states, other countries also. That way, he showed his human kindness. We have to appreciate that, sir. Regarding the last time also, in the question number you have seen, in the employment, our honorable minister is a labor and employment minister is there. I raised a question. At that time, he answered how these recent years the employment ratio increased year by year. That showed that employment opportunity. How is our prime minister giving to the youth? Is especially for education, health, and other sectors is showing. Especially, sir, if you take schemes wise, if you take also drinking water scheme, yes, allot a lot of for that. Then also for housing scheme, prime minister allot a lot of fund for that. For roads, historical allocation given for the road development. And also education also same way. Defense, he is more concerned about the security of this country. That is why when Prime Minister has taken over this reins of this country, he is concentrating more on the defense sector to see that external threat must not be there, especially from Pakistan or China and other countries. That shows this capacity, how that when he is investing more, employment is also getting, sir. And also, especially MSME sector. MSME sector is given more than 9% of that thing has been increased to give them a lot of employment opportunity. Sir, I want to say some things regarding the Tamil Nadu also. So, in Edappadi Palaniswamy, as the chief minister at that time, a lot of welfare schemes for socio-economic schemes. He implemented that based on our Amma, Madam, who has done Jayalalitha ji at that time, same way he has done what MGR also did. But our Elango said, this government is not caring about the poor people. Repeatedly go on arguing, this government is not bothering about the poor people. There is no socio-economic development interest. Sir, I want to put one question to the honorable members. When they present the budget in Tamil Nadu, what's up the budget that Tamil Nadu is implement? They never included what the promises they made in the election phase. For example, you have 1,000 rupees only every family members. Whether implemented or not. No, I'm telling, because when you are, sir, and also, for example, 2,500 rupees, our Edappadi Palaniswamy is given the every household car holders in the pending situation. Not only pending, Pongal gift also is given. But that has been withdrawn. Sir, Mangal Sutra is a big, good scheme for poor people giving gold to the Tali Tangam. Madam Jayalalitha has brought.
It is his time.
But that is,
It's not your time, it's his time. Let him speak.
Because when you said, sir, when you said that there is no, this government is not caring about the poor, whether that government is caring about the poor, I want to ask them. Tali Tangam, there's a good scheme for the educated people, poor people. Madam is into the scheme. That scheme implemented very well by Edappadi Palaniswamy. But now this government has stopped. Then how can if they come and discuss and criticize this government when Modi is giving a lot of welfare programs? So many, Madam Sita from Tamil Nadu, she has coming giving a good budget when everybody is appreciating. Why has to go on telling there is socio-economic neglected? This same word that DMK has gone telling, which they neglected this kind of programs. That is why what we are seeing that, sir. This is another thing, sir, regarding education. Sir, our country needs 5 sectors we have to consolidate. One is agriculture. Second is education. Third is health. Fourth is defense and other industrial activities. I appreciate that, sir. But what I'm suggesting, sir, education side, health side, we require giving a lot of importance, which our government is is coming forward. But I request financial minister, one problem is facing self-financing institution, trust, what our trust recently said, our Andhra friend has said just now, Reddy has said, Trust Act, when the Congress was in power, they brought an act making all 85% of the trust money be spent same here. They cannot save it. Otherwise, income tax won't accept. But now, sir, pandemic situation has come. Most 2/3 of the institutions in India run by the trusts. When trust is not having money, they are not saving. How they give the salary to the people? Therefore, that class is affecting. That is trust. Therefore, if a government say, somebody says, don't pay the tax, the country means, can the government able to run the government? Therefore, same way, if your trust cannot have the money, the parents, how they give salary to the workers or teachers, or so many institutions are suffering that. Therefore, I am requesting the Honorable Finance Minister look into this. How the Trust Act is not a correct one. It's going to affect the so many employed people, many teachers and other workers. The country, they're suffering a lot because of that. Government is not in a position to finance for the institutions. Government is, the bank is not going to give loan that. How they going to run that? Therefore, that's the lacuna which created by the Congress government that has to rectified this present government, seeing this situation, sir. This I am requesting. Same way, income tax. Income tax department, madam has given certain concession last time. Appreciate that. At the same time, previous government, nothing done. I know that. But now, once again, requesting Honorable Finance Minister to see sympathetic with the salary class people. When price index is gone increasing, your slab is still you are maintaining that. Therefore, they are not in a position to pay that. Therefore, I humbly request Honorable Finance Minister to look into salary people problem, how you can give further give concession. That is my humble request. I pray I may welcome this budget. It's a fine budget. It's a sympathetic, socio-economic based on that. And also, Narendra Modi ji is very concerned about the poor people, and he has brought so many schemes, relevant schemes. I once again appreciate this government, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sukhendu Sagarrai.
While participating in this appropriation and finance bill, the first thing that occurs to my mind is that this government has given a return gift to the nation after the elections in the 5 states recently held. First of all, the petrol and diesel prices have risen 6 times in 7 days. LPG cylinders costlier by 50 rupees, and it is almost rupees 1,000 per cylinder. Prices of kerosene oil have doubled. Edible oil prices are up by 25 to 40%. 11% hike in prices of essential medicines, and it will be further rise in the coming months, according to reports. So rise in prices of cereal, fruits, vegetables is driving up the food inflation. Petrol prices for bulk users has been increased by rupees 25 per liter, and jet fuel prices have also increased by 18%. Everybody knows in this country that when the price of bulk users for particularly diesel is increased, there will be cascading effect on all the essential commodities because of the transportation of the goods from one station to another. Sir, Moody's Investors Services has estimated that fuel retailers together lost around rupees 19,000 crores in revenue for keeping petrol and diesel prices on hold during elections in 5 states, because the government did not want to rationalize the price during election because of the political reasons. And after 5-6 months, it has been doubled, tripled, and going up every day. So my submission to the government would be that it needs to be ensured that these losses are not entirely transferred to the common people. So far the finance bill is concerned, it was passed in Lok Sabha after accepting 39 amendments to the bill that was tabled. Why was there so many amendments? Was it because of poor drafting? Was it because of careless proofreading? Or failure to complete stakeholder consultations and feedback gathering ahead of introducing bills in Parliament? Because everything done in a hush-hush manner, and all on a sudden it is tabled in the Parliament, either in this house or on this house. So far finance bill is concerned, it was tabled naturally in the other house. So government is emptying out the piggy banks, the borrowings from small savings. The borrowings from small savings are designed to support household and pensioners, not to finance the government's deficit. In 2021, the government budgeted to borrow 2.4 lakh crore from small savings, but ended up borrowing more than double of this figure. For 22-23, the government has budgeted for 5.6 lakh crore, a figure bound to increase that is lower than last year revised estimates. Sir, poor allocation for marginalized groups. This year's budget has allocated rupees 70 crore for the rehabilitation of those involved in the manual scavenging under the self-employment scheme for rehabilitation of manual scavengers. This is 30% less than the last year's allocation of rupees 100 crores. Shockingly, even this 100 crore was revised down to rupees 43.31 crores. Why is not the government able to utilize the allocations made towards manual scavenging? Is there no seriousness in ensuring that people are not forced to risk their lives and dignity like this? Instead, the government tells us in this house that no workers have died due to manual scavenging. It's a shame on the part of the governmental authorities. Sir, the central government has Shreyas, an umbrella program comprising 4 highly important higher education programs, namely National Fellowship for SC, National Overseas Scholarships for SCs, Top Class Education for SC students, and free coaching for SC and OBC students. But this house will be shocked to know it saw a combined allocation of only rupees 364 crore. Sir, so far the women and children are concerned, the general budget has decreased from 0.71% of the GDP of the revised estimates for 21-22 to 0.66 in the estimates of 22-23, according to an analysis of the All India Democratic Women's Association. I don't know how it is true, but government will be in a position to tell this house that what is the truth all about. So at rupees 92,736 crore, the children budget has also dropped from 2.46% of the expenditure this fiscal to 2.35% in the next fiscal. Between April to December 21, only 48% of the approved budgets for midday meals had been released. For ICDS, it was 52%. The allocations for midday meals are 11% lower than the budget estimates for the previous year. Sir, so far the education is concerned, the budget allocation made last year for education saw a 6% decrease from the budget allocation made in 2021. This year, the allocation saw an increase of 12% as compared to last year, but only a 5% increase over the allocation of 2021. The entire allocation on education for the previous year has not been used, in spite of the economic survey finding an increase in the number of children not enrolled in schools after the pandemic. So ironically, the total expenditure in education is less than 1% of the GDP, whereas the cash-strapped states, they are contributing 3 to 4 times than the center. So the states are more effective than the central government in providing funds for expenditure in the education heads, on the education heads. Sir, My next point would be, the government has claimed the the government has made tall claims about resource mobilization. But according to me, the main target of this government for resource mobilization is only to sell out the public properties, lock, stock, and barrel. So, and they have not spared any sector, any of the public sectors like airport, port, rail, bank, insurance, and even mini Ratna companies of the public sector. Sir, I am coming to one or two provisions of the Constitution. The Article 36 of the Constitution, which deals with the directive principles of state policy. This should be a Gita or a Quran or a Bible for any government in running the government, for the governance of the country. Sir, ये संविधान का बात है भाई, समझिए पहले फिर बोलिए, बंगाल भी बोलिए, गुजरात भी बोलिए. Sir, my next point I am submitting to you. Article 38, sub-article 2, it says, and I quote, the states shall, in particular, strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status, etc. Then, Article 39, Clause B, that the ownership and control of the material resources of the community are so distributed as best to serve the common good. And next, Clause C, that the operation of the economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth and means of production to the common detriment. And what is happening? When the Modi government came to power or the BJP government came to power, rather, I stand myself corrected. When the BJP government came to power in 2014, there were 103 billionaires. And they had 22 lakh crores of wealth at that point of time. And in 2021, that is last year assessment, 142 millionaires, they rose from 103 to 142. And these 142 billionaires are having 53 lakh crores wealth. And what is our budget, total budget coverage? Only 35 lakh crores. So government budget coverage is 35 lakh crores, and 142 billionaires, they are having 53 lakh crores of assets. So this is the inequality which is not only detrimental to the common good as enshrined in the Constitution under the head of directive principles of state policy. Therefore, I urge upon the government to follow the constitutional provisions in letter and spirit rather than to sell out everything to the big corporates, the crony capitalists. It seems to mobilize resources, this government has become bankrupt or insolvent, and the insolvency and bankruptcy code may be made applicable for the government also, because the figures I have mentioned before you, it is crystal clear from the figures that the government has totally surrendered to the crony capitalists, and all the economic policies of the government, they are being dictated upon by the crony capitalists, and this government is only implementing their policies. So this is an agency. This government has become an agency of the crony capitalists. So this is my submission, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Bisambar Prasad Nizar.
धन्यवाद उपसभापति महोदय. विनियोग विधेयक 2022-23 के लिए मैं समाजवादी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष माननीय अखिलेश यादव जी, प्रोफेसर रामगोपाल यादव जी की तरफ से बोलने के लिए खड़ा हुआ हूं. जहां आज पूरे देश में बैंकों की हड़ताल है, आज हम सदन में विनियोग विधेयक पर चर्चा कर रहे हैं. पूरे देश का लाखों बैंक एम्प्लॉय जो है, जो सरकार की गलत नीतियां हैं, निजीकरण को लेकर के जो है आज बैंक 2 दिन की हड़ताल में है। हम अपनी पार्टी की तरफ से उनका सपोर्ट करते हैं, मांग करते हैं कि जो बैंक कर्मचारियों की जो समस्याएं हैं, जो निजीकरण है, बंद किया जाए। गांधी जी ने बैंक गांव-गांव में बैंक खोलने की व्यवस्था कराई थी कि गांव का आदमी गांव में बैंक रहेगा तो गांव में पैसा जमा करेगा, लेन देन करेगा। आज सब प्राइवेटेशन हो रहा है, जिससे किसान, मजदूर, गरीब सब परेशान है। मनोहर, इसी से चूंकि जब निजी का होगा तो लोगों की नौकरियां जाएंगी, और जो परम पूज्य बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ने जो SC ST के लिए, OBC के लिए आरक्षण दिया था, धीरे धीरे निजीकरण से जो है लोगों की नौकरियां जा रही हैं, आरक्षण खत्म होता जा रहा है, और SC ST OBC के लोगों को जो है आरक्षण खत्म करके गुलाम बनाने की साजिश की जा रही मानव। इसीलिए OBC के लोग मांग करते हैं, जो देश की आधी आबादी से ज्यादा लोग हैं, कि हमारी जाति जनगणना करा ली जाए और हमें आबादी के हिसाब से सभी सेक्टरों में भागीदारी दी जाए। मानो अभी हम देख रहे हैं, लगातार बात चल रही है। अभी डीजल पेट्रोल के दाम, जब उत्तर प्रदेश में चुनाव था, 5 राज्यों में चुनाव था, तो 1 महीना डीजल पेट्रोल के दाम नहीं बढ़े। सरकार यही कहती थी कि ये अंतर्राष्ट्रीय बाजार पर निर्भर है, उस समय क्यों नहीं बढ़े, और अचानक 50 रुपया रसोई गैस में बढ़ा दिए गए। डीजल पेट्रोल के दाम रोज बढ़ रहे हैं, और जीवन रक्षक दवाएं जो आम आदमी की दवा है वो जो है कई गुना बढ़ने जा रही हैं, और पैरासीटामोल भी। और हम देखते हैं जीवन रक्षक दवाओं के लिए 10 गुना से लगाकर 200 गुना तक दाम उनके निर्धारित रहते हैं, और इतनी कालाबाजारी होती है कि जो MR होते हैं और मेडिकल स्टोर वाले होते हैं, डॉक्टर वही दवा लिखता है जो MR उसको सजेस्ट करता है, 200-300 गुना उसके दाम होते हैं, और किसान घाटे खेती कर रहा है, उसकी लागत का भी मूल्य नहीं दिया जा रहा। खर्चा लोगों के जेब में जो है पैसा कम है और खर्चा ज्यादा है। मानवर, आज हम देख रहे हैं कि देश के गरीबों किसानों पर टैक्स लगाया जा रहा है। आम आदमी की सवारी साइकिल है, साइकिल पे 18% टैक्स है। हम मांग करेंगे माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी से कि गरीब मजदूर आदमी साइकिल पे चलता है, उस पर टैक्स खत्म किया जाना चाहिए। आपने हीरा पे टैक्स खत्म किया है। हीरा कौन उद्योगपति, बड़ा अमीर आदमी हीरा खरीदता पहनता है, तो इसलिए साइकिल पे टैक्स खत्म किया जाना चाहिए। मानवर, शिक्षा में, स्वास्थ्य में, सब में बजट की कमी की गई है, और खास तौर पर SC ST OBC के जो बच्चों को छात्रवृत्ति मिलती थी, मिडिल क्लास तक, 8वीं तक, तो उनके स्कॉलरशिप भी खत्म कर दी गई, और उनके जितने कोचिंग सेंटर थे, जो बजट था उसमें, जो मेन बजट इनका है उसमें बजट घटाया गया है। और मानवर, आज हम देख रहे हैं देश में समान काम समान वेतन की कर्मचारी मांग कर रहे हैं। 10-10, 12-12 घंटे लोगों से काम कराया जाता है। देश के चाहे आंगनवाड़ी वर्कर्स हो, चाहे आशा वर्कर्स हो, चाहे शिक्षा मित्र हो, चाहे निदेशक हो, चाहे पंचायत मित्र हो, चाहे होमगार्ड, PRD से लगा करके, चौकीदार से लगा के, सब लोग मांग कर रहे हैं कि हमको हमारा 10-12 घंटे काम लिया जाता है, समान वेतन किया जाए। इसी तरह से मानव, देश के केंद्रीय सेवाओं में और प्रदेश सेवाओं में लोग जो है पुरानी पेंशन की बहाल की मांग करते हैं। मानव 22-23 में 2004 में वाजपेयी जी, BJP की सरकार ने खत्म किया था पुरानी पेंशन। 80 लाख जो है आवासों की बात कही है, और मैं याद दिलाना चाहता हूं, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का भाषण, चुनावी भाषण उठा के देखिए, उन्होंने कहा था 2022 तक देश के सभी गरीबों को पक्का आवास देने का काम करेंगे। आप 80 लाख का बजट किए हैं। और हम बताना चाहते हैं, मकान 1,20,000 का मिलेगा। आपने बालू के दाम, मोरम के दाम 4 गुने कर दिए, सीमेंट के दाम 2 गुने कर दिए, लोहा सरिया के दाम 2 गुने कर दिए। कैसे गरीब आदमी 1,20,000 में मकान बनाने का काम करेगा? हम देखते हैं उसमें घोटाले होते हैं। बांदा फतेह में हम देखा कि कितने भी आवास है वहां पे जो है उसमें भी दलाली हो रही। तो
Interventions made by other members except Mr. Nisad will
नहीं, हम
not
बोल
go
रहे
on
हैं तो
record.
उनको डिस्टर्ब करें ना, उनको रोकिए ना। मानवर किसान आज घाटे खेती कर रहा है। अन्ना प्रथा से हमारा पूरा देश का किसान परेशान है। आमदनी अठन्नी, खर्चा रुपया। आज किसान मजदूर के पास जब से नोटबंदी, जीएसटी और ये लॉकडाउन हुआ तब से लोगों के रोजगार चले गए। मानव किसानों के लिए स्वामीनाथन रिपोर्ट के लिए इन्होंने कहा था स्वामीनाथन रिपोर्ट लागू करेंगे, क्यों नहीं लागू कर रहे? मानव हम तो चाहते हैं कि एमएसपी का कानून बने और जिस तरह से आप उद्योगपतियों के लिए कानून बनाते हैं, उनकी उनकी उनके मूल्य निर्धारण करते हैं, उसी तरह किसानों के लिए एमएसपी का कानून बनना चाहिए। मानवर आज देश का किसान आत्महत्याएं कर रहा है। देश का किसान चाहता है कि जो उनके पास कर्जा है, आप चुनाव में तो हजारों अरबों रुपए खर्च करते हैं, देश के किसानों का जो है कर्जा माफ किया जाना चाहिए। मानवर उनके लिए बजट में कोई कर्जा माफ करने की, जब चुनाव आता है तब कर्जा की बात करते हो, जब चुनाव खत्म तो कर्जा की बात नहीं करते हो। तो ये बजट में कर्जे माफ करने की कोई व्यवस्था नहीं। मानवर हमारे यहाँ तमाम अभी डिस्टर्ब कर रहे हैं, हमें बोलने नहीं दे रहे हैं। जब इनका मौका है तो बोले।
शेयर को एड्रेस करिए, आप बोलते जाइए।
मैं आपसे
बाकी कुछ रिकॉर्ड में नहीं जाएगा, सिर्फ आपका जाएगा।
विनती करना चाहते हैं कि आज देश का किसान नौजवान, जब से नोटबंदी लॉकडाउन हुआ, देश के बहुत हालत खराब है। आज किसान नौजवान आत्महत्या कर रहे हैं। इलाहाबाद में 3 बच्चों ने आत्महत्या कर ली। लोग डिग्री जला रहे हैं इनकी सरकार में, नौकरियां नहीं मिल रही लोगों को, और ये लोग एक शोर मचा रहे हैं। केवल इन्होंने सरकारी मशीनरी से, ईवीएम से पूरे उत्तर प्रदेश में तो अखिलेश यादव जी को जनादेश दिया था। केंद्र की सरकार ने बेईमानी से जो है उत्तर प्रदेश में सरकार अखिलेश की बनाने से रोकने का काम किया है। उस पर आप कहते जनादेश, आज उत्तर प्रदेश में हताशा निराशा है। तो मानो हम अब ये हल्ला कर रहे हैं, शोर मचा रहे हैं, इनका जवाब मैं दे रहा हूँ। तो मानो आज जरूरत है किसान की आमदनी बढ़ाने का, उनकी लागत के अनुसार उनको जो है उनका एमएसपी कानून बनाने का। उनकी हम यही मांग कर रहे हैं कि बजट में जो है किसानों के लिए जो है खाद बीज उनके सब्सिडी दी जाए और किसानों को निःशुल्क सिंचाई, निजी ट्यूबवेल की सिंचाई फ्री की जाए। इस तरह से तमाम ये मांग करते हैं कि वित्त मंत्री से निवेदन करेंगे किसानों के लिए, जिससे आत्महत्या न करें। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद। द नेक्स्ट स्पीकर इज प्रफुल्ल पटेल।
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, sir. I will be as constructive as possible without getting into this blame game on either side. We must look at the situation in the country for the last 2 years, especially with the COVID pandemic. It has been something very unsettling, not only for the country, but for the whole world. And I must say that we must compliment both the government of India as well as all the states, irrespective of party affiliations, how everybody has collectively fought this pandemic. And we have not entirely come out of it, but relatively the impact to India has been much softer than what one had expected. In fact, in the March of 2020, when the pandemic started, and for the first 3 months when the country was under complete lockdown, and the uncertainty which was prevailing all over the world, we didn't know what was the pandemic about, what is the cure about it, and then we just barely came out of it. We had a second wave, and then fortunately the third wave was a little bit of a milder one. But nonetheless, I think the pandemic has been a very unsettling moment for the country. And we are, some of the figures do reflect that things are much better. GST collections, as many a speaker have mentioned, and the finance minister mentioned in a budget speech also. But purely going by GST numbers and being very happy that we have achieved 1,30,000 crores for at least 5 months in this current fiscal year, while it is a good sign, but also it does not reflect the true state of the economy. There are many sectors, and I'm sure the finance minister is aware of it, which have still a lot of stress, and they need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed timely. especially her latest intervention in the budget about the hospitality, tourism, and related sectors, where she has announced a further package which was over and above the MSME package which was announced last year. Well, I must say that while some of the benefits have reached some of the industries, but I am sure that there have been a lot of fatalities, mortalities in this sector, also in the MSME sector. Many a small company have closed down permanently, which needs to be addressed, and I'm sure it is a matter of concern. The most destabilizing factor after the pandemic has come the Ukraine war. And I think when she delivered a speech on the 1st of February, Madam Finance Minister was not aware that this could be a situation which will arise a few days later. And the Ukraine war has demonstrated that suddenly, as you've seen, the prices of fuel were going up, but they have really hit the roof. And Petroleum Minister is also sitting here in the House. He will acknowledge what are the special circumstances. We are comparing the current fuel price increase with something which happened during 2008-9. While we are comparing it, I don't think it is apple to apple exactly, because in 2008-9, there was no Ukraine conflict. There was some different situation. At the same time, the rupee then was around 40 rupees a dollar. Right now, the rupee is at around 77 rupees to a dollar. So there is going to be a major impact on the finances of the government of India, no matter how good we want to portray the numbers. Because these numbers, while 400 billion of exports have been achieved, very creditable, very laudable, but we must also understand that the balance of payments, we are also going to face an equally higher deficit because of the higher import fuel bill, which will lead to still the disparity between the exports and the imports, and that will be close to almost $200 billion this year. So I'm sure Finance Minister is aware of these issues and will address them suitably. I also would like to mention specially here that her budget speech mentioned some money coming from disinvestment of public sector. That the LIC disinvestment itself is on hold. That reflects that because of the uncertainty of the Ukraine war and the current economic climate, there is going to be a challenge for her to meet some of those numbers also. So while I'm not a complete proponent of disinvestment or not disinvesting, I would like to look at it objectively. But at the same time, I think your numbers on all heads of the budget are going to be impacted hugely because of this current situation which has arisen after the Ukraine war. I would also like to reflect, on the middle class, because the middle class is the most, I would say, the boxed in, the sandwich class of the country. They have very little flexibility. They cannot reduce their spending. They cannot increase their earnings. Most of them resort to minor savings. Most of them go to banks. Still, there's less, I would say, an eagerness for people, the middle class, to invest in other instruments. Some people do go to mutual funds and all, but that's a very small number compared to the number of people who want to put their savings in a more secure format. And therefore, today banks offering 3.5%, and compared to the inflation, official inflation figure of 6% plus, which you yourself have mentioned, you can imagine very well that an average middle class person cannot make two ends meet, cannot beat inflation with the amount of interest. In fact, the income will be reduced to that extent year on year. And the middle class feels the heat of high petrol prices, diesel prices, cooking gas prices, and all the general items on the inflation list, which we normally see. So therefore, I feel that at least on the savings account, some kind of a balance. I'm sure the Reserve Bank and everybody wants to reduce interest rates for lending especially. But for people who go for savings, especially small people, I think we need to have a relook, because 3.5% interest rates certainly don't do justice to anybody. And on the other side, some of my colleagues have spoken about tax exemption limits. Again, the middle class is the one which is feeling the heat of the exemptions not being increased year on year to keep pace with inflation, I feel something needs to be looked at meaningfully on that account also. My point is about the current situation after the Ukraine war. We feel an increased threat perception all around the world and especially in our neighborhood. We have Pakistan, a perennial problem to deal with. And China is also equally another perennial problem. And with the kind of geopolitics which is playing around in the world, India with its issues itself with Pakistan and with China, the continuous border issues going on in Ladakh and in other parts of Arunachal Pradesh, I think we need to look at our infrastructure development, especially in these areas, much more meaningfully. Yes, you are doing a lot in the road sector, especially thanks to the big cess you are collecting on petroleum products, which again is being redeployed for infrastructure building. I think it's good. There's nothing to complain about that. But at the same time, the infrastructure in the certain sensitive areas of the country which affect national security need to be addressed much, much more aggressively, because considering the way China is building roads, bridges, airports, railway lines, and all the other peripheral infrastructure all across Arunachal Pradesh and in Ladakh, I think it is very important that we spend much more money on our defense expenditure than what we are doing. And I feel sometimes when we go through some of the figures and when we talk in general, even with some of the people who are experts in the field, the amount of money allocated for capital expenditure versus the amount of money which is actually spent, there is a mismatch. I hope it is not, but if there is, I think it needs to be corrected. There was a lot of discussion on the crypto. Ma'am, I would like to state very clearly that I share the sentiments expressed by my colleague, Mr. Sushil Modi, and many other colleagues. Crypto is one of the kinds of currency which even somebody like me, I called a cryptocurrency expert. I sat with them. I tried to understand with all the wisdom at my command, and I failed to understand anything about cryptocurrency till date. I have not neither purchased, but I wanted to understand, at least to educate myself, to understand what this animal is all about. We went to Reserve Bank of India as a finance consultant, as a finance standing committee member. We tried to discuss with the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank is also very clear that they cannot allow this kind of currency to be, officially allowed in the country. And I agree with you. I agree with the sentiments which you expressed in your budget. I also agree with some of the provisions of tax and other, restrictive measures which you have brought in the budget. But I think it needs to be much more aggressively tackled, because this is an unknown animal. And for most people, if people like me, after calling an expert, have not been able to understand, I can imagine the average Indian who could be lured by the, easy money access and quick money multiplier to fall into the trap of this cryptocurrency. And most of them are fake. We read every day articles about people being, fooled into buying cryptocurrency. Some of my colleagues may not agree with me. I know that. I know some of the proponents of cryptocurrency are also there, both in this house and the other house. But that notwithstanding, I feel you need to be aggressive and take even more stronger posture. I'll just wind up. The NCLT, we brought in the IBC code with a good intent. You did get some success initially, but the NCLT and the NCLAT are still struggling to cope up with the numbers of cases which they have to deal with. There are so many vacancies there. Please do something about this. Otherwise, the IBC, the efficiency with which and the quick resolution for which it was intended to be legislated, that purpose itself stands to be defeated somewhere. So I urge you to look at that very meaningfully. A lot has been spoken about exports. Agriculture exports can be one of the biggest, I would say the backbone of Indian exports. And I think a lot is being done also. It's not that it's not being done, but we need to strengthen that. We really need to support Today, aquaculture. We are the largest exporters of prawn in the world. We need to strengthen that, give more incentives there. Even about agriculture, somebody mentioned about rice being, we are the largest exporter of rice. Yes, we do export rice to most of the world. We are exporters of dairy products. We are exporters of almost any item you can name in the head of agriculture. But I think, are we doing enough to promote agriculture exports? I think we can improve on what is being done so far. And finally, I would like to say that industry, well, after the industrial licenses have been dismantled many, many years ago, anybody is free to set up an industry wherever. Fine, that's not the real issue. The issue is that even today, after so many years, and especially my colleagues who come from the remote areas, who do not come from Mumbai, Pune, or Delhi, Faridabad, NCR, or other big cities, or Bangalore for that matter, people who come from the remote areas of the country, still the primary demand when you go to a remote district will be, हमारे यहाँ industry कब आएगा? हमारे यहाँ रोजगार लोगों का कब मिलेगा? How will that happen? I think the time has come that while we are being aggressive about industrialization of our country, we must come with some innovative measures where we incentivize industry, especially when it comes to backward regions of the country, the backward districts of the country. We have identified so many backward districts. We already have it in our schedule, and the government of India has it. There are some incentives given to those backward districts in terms of financial and monetary benefits, but those are very minuscule. But if you really want to industrialize those parts of the country, I think we need to have some more aggressive measures where industry feels incentivized enough to go there and set up shop there. That will lead to lesser migration to the bigger cities. And the strengthening of agriculture, increase in irrigation outlays, and industrialization of those areas will change the landscape of India from the rural migration to the urban, and will uniformly develop the country. I think that would be in the interest of the nation. So, sir, thank you very much. And I hope some of my suggestions would have meaningful thought of the finance minister.
Thank you. The next speaker is